Any attempts at police reform will fail unless the police are forced to stop demanding identification from those who are not suspected of committing a crime, and the majority of citizens learn their rights once and for all. This is the video of Pastor Jennings as he was watering the neighbor's flowers in Childersburg, Alabama. He was approached because a nosy neighbor had called him in as a suspicious person, even though the neighbor knew who he was, and the police went after his identification. Why? Because they got a call, and he was suspicious. Under Terry v. Ohio and Brown v. Texas, the police cannot lawfully detain on mere suspicion alone, nor can they lawfully detain in order to conduct a fishing expedition or based upon hunches or gut feelings. They have to be able to articulate reasonable suspicion a person has committed, is committing, or is about to commit a specific crime. Watering the neighbor's flowers while they're out of town for a couple of days may be a specific activity, but one thing it's not is a specific crime.
Alright, got me going around this way. Howdy.
Hey man, how's it going?
Pretty good. What you doing here, man?
The deputy just escalated simply by the way he posed that question.
Water flower?
They saying that, is that your vehicle?
No.
It's not?
It's the neighbor's vehicle.
The neighbors?
314, I'll be on 13.
Okay.
Yeah,
You live here?
no, I don't live here.
Okay. They saying that this vehicle is not supposed to be here and you're not supposed to be
Who's
here.
saying that?
They called about it. I don't know who called.
I'm supposed to be here. I'm Pastor Jennings. I live across the street.
You're Pastor Jennings?
Yes, I'm looking out for their house while they gone.
Okay.
That explanation should have dispelled the officer's suspicions, but it does not. Why? Well, because they haven't got their hands on his ID yet.
Water in their flower.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Now, do you have like ID and all?
Oh no, man. I'm not gonna give you no ID.
Why not?
I ain't did nothing wrong. And they did
Well,
nothing
you look,
suspicious.
listen, I'm not saying do nothing wrong.
No.
The pastor knew he didn't have to identify because he wasn't doing anything wrong. But the officer, you'll notice, persists in trying to get his hands on the ID. This is another escalation.
Listen,
There's a suspicious person.
Look, I used to be a police officer in Goodwater. Don't come here with that. Okay.
Look, man, don't do this to me.
Yeah.
There's a suspicious person in the yard, and if you're not one to identify yourself,
I don't have to identify myself. It's not a stop and identify state.
Let's unpack this real quick. The deputy just basically threatened him with arrest. That's coercion. And when an officer starts to threaten somebody with arrest, that means if the person doesn't cooperate, doesn't matter if it's right or wrong on the part of the officer. They've now authorized themselves to use force and violence. Pastor Jennings, on the other hand, said something that always bothers me. Anybody who's been following my channel for a while knows that when I hear someone say, this is not a stop and ID state, I have no choice but to stop and address it. In a stop and ID state, officers are still required to articulate reasonable suspicion of a specific crime before they can detain someone lawfully. However, assuming they're detained lawfully, the officers can demand identification as laid out in that respective state law, because it varies from state to state. But it has nothing to do with I can walk up and check anybody I want lacking a crime. No, that's Nazi Germany stuff. When Pastor Jennings said this is not a stop and ID state, talk about being problematic. His head didn't just pop off the pillow that morning and all of a sudden he had a revelation. Hey, this is not a stop and ID state. No, he picked it up watching YouTube videos probably because of an activist, auditor, or cop watcher. They pollute the minds of a lot of people when it comes to this is not a stop and ID state. And then you hear other people parroting that very same phrase, just like Pastor Jennings, when they have interactions with law enforcement. They say it to say it. They don't know what it means, and I will bet that you can trace all that misinformation back to the average auditor.
Got broke in. I live right over there across the street. Who called y'all?
that's what we got to figure out. But first,
who called?
you
live here?
He don't live here. I'm not saying nothing about.
You have no right to approach me if I ain't did nothing suspicious or nothing wrong. Told him I'm a pastor. I pastor until I don't want to hear you.
Sir,
You want to lock me up? Lock me up.
Nobody wants to
Lock me.
up.
I'm not showing y'all anything. I'm going to continue to run these flowers.
Call.
I don't care who called y'all. Lock me up and see what happens. I want you to.
Hey man, just come here and talk to us.
I'm
What?
going to go water these back flowers is what I'm finna do. Who called y'all?
Well, if you would let us talk to you, we can figure stuff out.
You know, you're going to catch an obstruction charge if you keep walking away.
You can do whatever you want. Do it. Do it.
We're just trying to talk to you, man. Come here.
313, 314, follow.
10-4.
Right here is where the official, formal, unlawful detention takes place. The officer goes hands-on and then puts Pastor Jennings in handcuffs because they got a call and because he was suspicious. The call made Pastor Jennings suspicious. Nothing about a crime, nothing about articulating a specific crime. He gets arrested at the behest of the chief of police for obstructing governmental operations when in fact we know that the cops obstructed his constitutional rights. Well, the case gets dismissed and now there's a pending lawsuit. Good for you, Pastor Jennings. I hope you teach these officers a lesson, but I'm not holding my breath.